Wow, just look at all these big, gorgeous blooms. I don't know about you, but I have favorites. You go through life and over time you just start finding that there are certain things that you keep going for every year. And when it comes to plants, an annual that has never let me down, it's the Sunpatient. And you're looking at some white ones here. And this is an amazing plant in that they live up to their name, a sun patient. So yes, it's an impatient, but this is a sun patient, meaning it can take a lot of sun. The more you can throw at it, the better it performs, as long as you're giving it plenty of moisture. What's great about Sunpatiens is that when you get a really great plant, you can get creative with it. You can use it in lots of different ways. And that's one of the things I find that I love so much about this, because what I want to show you is how we use these from a design standpoint. For instance, clustering containers, mass planting in beds, how to use these plants to create a sense of symmetry. And if you're like me, you love color, okay? Here I'm showing you some beautiful white ones, but you cannot believe the myriad of colors that the Sunpatient comes in. And it just seems like year after year, they've become even better and better. The other thing that I love about this plant, other than it's really easy to grow, is that you can get creative with it. Yeah, all right, so we've talked about how creative you can get in the landscape with it, but what about bringing Sunpatiens into the home as a cut flower? I have a beautiful example of how you can use Sunpatiens in the most creative way. You can do a centerpiece in a matter of no time. Hey, if you're liking these videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if you like this one, well, like it. And if you want to know more, just send us a question. You know, I do a podcast every week. Send me your questions and we'll answer them. And make sure you come visit us at Moss Mountain Farm. We love sharing the beauty of the place. Gosh, you guys are gorgeous. A frequently asked question is, what is a Sunpatient? Well, it's not an impatient, and it's certainly not a New Guinea impatient. It's a variety really in and of itself, in that these plants, as the name implies, Sunpatients, will not wither in full sun. Take these 3 large containers. They're on the end of the porch, the western side, so they get lots of hot sun in the afternoon, and these plants are thriving. As a sun-loving flowering annual, these Sunpatients really don't require a lot of care. There's no deadheading the blooms. You don't have to pinch them back for them to have a nice mounding habit, and they don't require much in the way of fertilization. Also, they're disease resistant. Typical impatiens have suffered in the last several years from downy mildew. These are resistant to downy mildew. You'll find that they come in a wide range of colors, which makes it really great when you're designing the landscape. Some of the Sunpatients actually have variegated foliage. I like planting these robust bloomers against foliage plants like this coleus. Whether you plant them in the garden or in a container, as long as you have full sun, you have a place for Sunpatients. Who doesn't love color? I certainly do, and there's no better way to get bold, bright color than with my friends, the Sunpatients. Wide range of colors, but here I've taken 3 different colors and sort of marbleized them, if you will, together. We've got one that edges on the pink side. This one's very definitely more on the tangerine side, and one that's a little bit somewhat in the middle. So they really sing together. I've planted them in mass like this for the boldest visual effect, but there are lots of other ways you can grow Sunpatients. One little tip. The thing I like about these plants is if you keep them consistently wet and moist, they'll grow like this and they don't require a lot of fertilization. That's kind of amazing with this kind of flower power. I use Sunpatients in a multiple of ways here around Moss Mountain Farm, so why don't we go take a look at a couple of other applications. Now here's an example of a Sunpatient, a single plant planted in a flower bed among other things, such as salvias, lantanas, and this Polish spirit amaranth. So Sunpatients play well with others. It's a beautiful bright spot in this long flower border. Now another way I love to use Sunpatiens is in containers. They're perfect. Just look at these. This big pink one here flanked by two white ones. I love to cluster them. That gives you real visual impact. Now, if you grow them in containers, remember, same rule applies. They need to be consistently moist. Don't want them to dry out. And the other thing is you don't need to fertilize them too much. And these require no pruning, so they're ideal. If you haven't tried some of these bold color Sunpatiens, I recommend that you give them a try. As a garden designer, one of the things that I really like is symmetry. It's, I guess, a classical principle. If you look at classical gardens, they're balanced and there's symmetry. And in this garden, you can certainly see it. This is on the west end of the terrace garden here at Moss Mountain Farm. What I've created is a destination, a place to come and sit and relax and just listen to the sound of the water and hear the birds, engage with nature. But in this space, what I've done is I've created a curved hedge with openings in it, with a focal point in each of the openings in the way of an eagle. And along the base of this hedge, I've created a flower bed which is full of white Sunpatiens. In the center is an oval fountain, and surrounding it are planters filled with boxwood and, again, the white Sunpatiens. Just look at these mounds of white. They look like big scoops of ice cream, don't you think? With the containers and beds in place, I can just change these out from one season to the next. For instance, in the early spring, I've used blue hydrangeas in these large containers. Then in the summer, when the temperature goes up and the sun is the brightest, I fill these containers with Sunpatiens because they can really take the heat and the sun. And just look how abundant they are. The beauty of classical design is it embraces symmetry, and the symmetrical nature of it brings harmony, which makes you feel good while you're in the space. When it comes to the flowers, well, they're just the icing on the cake. I don't know about you, but for me, color is a really important element of design. And it's particularly important when I begin laying out spaces like the entrance to my home. You know, you always want to put your best foot forward. So this year I thought I would echo the trim color of the house, which is white. And what I did is I flanked each side of the steps with these two big containers full of white Sunpatiens. Just look at all of the blooms they're producing. And cascading down the container, you can see this beautiful snowstorm bacopa. Now, the idea here is to exhibit abundance. I put 3 Sunpatiens plants in each one of these containers, and then I mirrored it on the other side over here. You see, this is part 1 of my entry design scheme. Come up on the porch and I'll introduce you to part 2. Now, up here on what I consider the first room of the house, I've changed the color scheme. Look at these coral colored Sunpatiens. Aren't they fantastic? 3 containers, all the same size, with 3 coral Sunpatiens in each pot, and look at the abundance. Where did I get the idea? Well, the color comes from this wacky color that I came up with for the chairs on the front porch. As you can see, I've got a color echo going from these blooms to the color of the chair. When you're thinking about any of your outdoor living spaces, look for inspiration. Look for a color you already have. Maybe it's the trim color of the house. Maybe it's the color of your outdoor furniture, or even a fabric. And believe me, there's a Sunpatient flower color that will go with any color combination. I always enjoy having guests here at Moss Mountain Farm, and it's fun to do something different and interesting as a tablescape. So today, on this early summer evening, what I'm doing is I'm actually taking the blooms of Sunpatiens and just floating them in water. How simple is that? And so affordable, and you can do it very quickly. You don't have to go to floral arranging school to do this. It's a matter of just filling a bowl and letting these beautiful flowers just float. And you can see I have a myriad of colors of them, and they match some of these things that I've picked up in secondhand stores, antique shops. I like to mix and match things. Makes it a lot more fun. Now, with my guests already here, all I have to do now is take some of the Sunpatiens and sprinkle them along the table like this. They'll last long enough for dinner. I've had them actually last until the next day, and it really adds a festive feeling to the table, just like this. And then now all I have to do is light the candles, and we're ready for a very fun evening. So think about this spring when you're planting your garden, add some of these Sunpatiens because you can use them in lots of fun ways. All right, let me go get my guest. Hey, if you like this video, comment below and subscribe to my channel.